All right, here we go with another controversial topic. This guy is a buffoon. We'll just start it with that. Um, where do you go from there, right? So, I absolutely hate this guy. I hate this guy. Well, let me start off with this. I love this country. I love this country more than I don't even know. But I love everything about this country. I love the opportunity of this country. I love the people of this country. I love the melting pot of this country. I love going into the cities of this country and seeing all the different people from different countries. I love eating the food that different people from different countries bring to this country. I'm just everything about this country. I am 100,000% in love with, except this guy. Now, that's not fair. I think this guy's a goddamn buffoon. That's first off. But he's got seems to have some great policies, right? So this guy's a billionaire. He runs for office. He gets elected. Now, first off, when you're a billionaire, I would imagine, because I'm not a billionaire, but when you're a billionaire, I would imagine that you see life through different eyes than everybody else, right? So, like you're eating the finest food, you have more money than you could spend in a lifetime, as long as you're not being like ridiculous and stuff. So you don't see things the way everybody else sees things, you know. So he didn't have to get into politics at all. He didn't have to run for office. So there's two sides of the argument. Some people say, like, listen, he just really wanted to make the country better, so he decided to run. Well, that's one side of the argument, and that's agreeable. I can see where, he didn't have to run. I mean, when you have all the money that you have, what's the point? And the other side of the argument is that the only reason why he ran is like he's power hungry and he wants the status symbol of being the president. I've heard that he didn't really want to win. He was just doing it to like boost his resume and all this other stuff, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't make a real difference what the case is on if he wanted to, or if he thought he should, or he didn't want to, or whatever the case is. The bottom line is the guy was a billionaire. He had his life set. He decided that he was going to run for the presidency, and he won. Right. So now he wins, and he starts putting things into place that like make a lot of sense to a lot of people. You know what I mean? Whatever he was doing, like with trade, oh, these people are ripping us off, and people are gonna have to pay more money and all that other stuff. A lot of the stuff that he's saying really seems like it's just common sense. A lot of it seems like, we're in a deficit for this country, and we give them a bunch of products and stuff, and they pay us pennies on the dollar. So we wind up having a deficit with them of the tens of millions or billions of dollars or whatever it is. And it makes sense that doesn't really seem like it's fair. Like we should have not. Some of them he's like, we're $50 billion in deficit. So okay, well, they are less, established countries. They don't make as much money as us. It's sort of like the fair trade agreement in like baseball or whatever it's called. Like, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, like the Astros. These are like the really strong teams. And if you just let them that are in big markets continue to spend as much money as they want, then like the smaller teams that are like, the Toronto Blue Jays and like the smaller teams, they can't keep up. You know what I mean? So they say to the big teams, like, spend all the money you want, but if you go over this threshold, we're going to tax you, and we're going to charge you money to build the super team. And they take that money at the end of the year, and Major League Baseball splits it up between all the other teams. You know what I mean? So if the Yankees go over the the bargaining agreement or whatever it is, like $30 million, and the Red Sox go $30 million, and the Dodgers go $30 million, whatever. At the end of the year, they get taxed on that. So all of that tax money then gets split up, and the Toronto Blue Jays get $10 million. Because their market and their fan base, may not be as grand as some of these other places. So they get extra money. The more the big teams want to rant and rave and pay a bunch of money for the best players, these smaller teams get money for that, and then they have an opportunity to maybe use that money to get some of the better players for that team. So I equate that to the same thing. It's like these smaller countries, they're the Toronto Blue Jays of the world, and they don't have the ability to to sell their products because maybe their products are a little bit inferior, maybe because their products it's easier to buy them somewhere else. Um, so we have to kind of give them a leg up. Like, all right, listen, we're going to kind of let you get us on the deal. So instead of us like winning and becoming more of a superpower and more money and more all this other stuff, and you losing money and all that other stuff, we'll kind of let the deficit be, like you have the better of the deficit. So we'll go $50 million a year in debt, so you can build your economy and you can get strong and all that other stuff. And it really doesn't hurt us that much because we pretty much basically print our own money. We are such a superpower. So, like, what does all that mean? That all, well, not what does all that mean, but so how do you make it fair? Well, if we're $50 billion in a deficit with country X, well, why not just say instead of making it even, because obviously that's going to destroy these small markets economy. Why don't instead of 50 billion, why don't we just make it 25 billion? You know what I mean? So we get 25 billion back. You're still getting 25 billion. Like it's a win-win. So if he does that with a bunch of the countries, it's like, wow, why didn't anyone else think about that? That's a great idea. And then what you find is, you find that we're making a lot more money back and we're less in deficit with countries. So I'm on board with all of that stuff that he's doing. I'm on board with a lot of stuff that he's doing as far as a president and as far as making decisions for the country. But I have to tell you, this guy needs to shut the hell up. He just needs to be quiet. He's doing rallies 2 years after winning the presidency and still talking about, Hillary Clinton and all of this other stuff. Now, here's the thing, and this is a little bit crazy for me to say because I don't like the guy, but I don't like the guy. I don't like the man that he is. Like, he's very thin skinned. He's very weak. He's very afraid. He's very unmanly. He seems cowardly. Like, he dodged, going to war, going to combat, or going to the military for like bone spurs or something, heel spurs or something like that. Now, don't get me wrong. If you got reason to do all of that stuff and you're trying to scam the system or whatever, then whatever. God bless you. You do what you got to do. But it seems like the more and more things that he does are just constantly adding to the lack of man or the lack of respectful, decent human being that he is, Like, so first he does a heel spur thing and he's like, oh, I can't go to war and I'm, whatever. Okay, so there's a lot of people who do that. There's people who go to Canada when, Vietnam happened and all that other stuff. And, some of them are just afraid and that's okay to be afraid sometimes, So then, he, starts talking bad about people. And it's not just talking bad about people. It's talking about people that you have no business talking bad about. Like John McCain. Now, John McCain has his flaws and all that other stuff. But John McCain comes from a long list of military men. It's like father was an admiral. His grandfather was an admiral. He was well on his way to being an admiral. But then decided that, after the whole POW thing and blah, 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 he was going to get out of the military. And then the guy becomes a senator. And he's a senator for, 40 years or whatever the heck it is. And for this guy to make fun of that or to discredit that or say like, oh, I like guys that weren't captured or I like guys that didn't do this or did, it's like, man, you need to just keep your mouth shut because you're the one who didn't even have the nerve to go do it, and here is a guy that did honorably and you don't give him his due respect. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, it really takes some courage. Like, not courage. That's not the right word. It takes some balls for this guy to like badmouth somebody who most Americans would consider to be, a great American human being. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of John McCain. You hear people say like he was a horrible human being and blah, blah, blah. I don't know any about that. I'm just saying from on the surface what I'm saying, So the guy goes from bone spurs. The guy goes from, making fun of military heroes to, now he's making, well, not now, but then goes into making fun of women. You know what I mean? Like, this whole, like, coming up with names for people and stuff like that, it's very, like, it's like unbecoming of a man. You know what I mean? Like, if you got something bad to say about a woman, you just keep it to yourself. You know what I mean? You just shake your head and you just keep moving on with your friends and all that other stuff. But for this guy to come up with nicknames about Pocahontas and about Maxine Waters being low IQ and all that other stuff, like all of that stuff is just is cowardice, and it's cowardly. You know, if there's something that you don't like about someone's politics or something you don't like about the way somebody's doing things, well, you 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 discuss and you speak on their merits. Like he says, oh, all these illegal immigrants and all these people that are coming in, he wants to do immigration by merit. He wants to have the greatest and the best and the people that come into this country, on merit and not just on lotteries and all that other stuff. So using that same concept is with merit. He should be discussing things on merit. He should be discussing, Maxine Waters' merit and lack thereof, and why she's maybe not a good, politician or whatever. Or the same with Warren, and discussing those type of things. But to just come up with a cowardly name for a woman, is just, man, it's just a horrible thing. You know what I mean? He seems like to me like the kind of guy that wouldn't hold the door open for a woman. He just seems like that kind of guy. He's not the kind of guy that I would want to sit down and have a beer with. He's not the kind of guy that that he's not the kind of guy that I would call up if I got into a fight and I needed help. He just doesn't seem like a man. He just seems like a man boy. You know what I mean? Like he just seems like a childish little, like, when they say like, oh, he's a rich snobby punk. Well, that's who this guy seems like. He seems like the kind. I just don't like him. I don't like him, and I think he just needs to shut up. If this guy did all the things that he's doing, right now, like I said, he's done some really good things for the country. The economy's going great. The unemployment is doing great. For everybody, for all levels of unemployment, there's things that are happening in this country that haven't happened for years or ever. You know what I mean? And so he's doing great things. But, he just needs to be quiet more. He needs to not be so boisterous about stupid things. And this guy lies like no other. Like he's constantly telling lies where he'll say something in one of these rallies or whatever. And then on the news, whether it's Fox News, whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC, any news is like, oh, and the president said this, but that's not true. And then they'll go into the actual truth. And it's like, why would you do that? You're already the most powerful man on the planet. Why would you then go and soil these things that you're saying by telling fabricated lies and fabricated, just information? It just doesn't make sense. This guy's approval rating is like, I don't know, in the 30s or in the 40s or something like that. But could you imagine if the country was running this well and everything was going this good and he just shut the hell up? And he just, lived behind the curtain of the presidency like most presidents do, and he just let his results and let his actions and let all of his stuff speak for itself. He wouldn't be so disliked by so many people, and it's almost a shame because some people will say that this guy's going to go down as the greatest president that's ever lived. Now, I don't necessarily know about that, but I think that some of the results that he garners may, I think that he really does have a common sense outlook on what a lot of American people want. They want things to be strong. They want our military to be strong. They want our economy to be strong. They want our unemployment to be low. They want people to be taken care of. They want medical and all of this stuff, And he has every ability to deliver on all of those things. But I think it's all going to be clouded by the fact that he goes up and he stands on a podium and has, lock her up chants 2 years later. He has build the wall, chants years later, and after winning the presidency and all this other stuff. And it just seems like he's an embarrassment to the country. It just seems like like, when you go overseas or whatever, you have to be like, yeah, that Trump thing, oof, ugh. Yeah, and I think a lot more people support him than they admit. Like, you see all these polls and all that other stuff that say, the Democrats are up by 15% and they're going to sweep the midterms and like all this other stuff. But I think there's a lot of Democrats or a lot of people in general that won't come out and say that they support him, but they actually do. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who like in person, they're like, "Oh, screw Trump! I hate him. I would never vote for him." But then they go into the booth and they say to themselves, "Well, like the economy's great, and I kind of don't want to screw around with that. Unemployment is phenomenal. I don't want to really screw with that. The military's getting stronger. Like everything seems to be kind of going good, okay, or good right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this lever for all Republicans, or for Republicans that are going to hold his same beliefs." And then when I come out of the poll, I'll just tell everybody, like, "Oh, screw Trump. I voted all Democrat," and they don't actually do that. And I think that a lot of these polls, when people are calling them and saying, "Hey, good afternoon, this is, Bob Jones with whatever news agency or however they do polls, and we want to know what you think. You going to vote Democrat or going to vote Republican or whatever?" A lot of them just go, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to vote Democrat because I hate Trump like everybody else. Yeah, boo, boo, boo Trump. Everyone hates this guy." Um, so I got to say that I really, really love everything about this country. And I really, really love the direction that the country's going in. I think that we have an opportunity to really, really do great things and to right some of the wrongs that were made in the last, 25 years and all that other stuff. And I think maybe this might be the guy to do it, right? But he just needs to be quiet. He needs to stop tweeting. What kind of president tweets out a bunch of stuff that's misspelled, the Kofefi stuff and like all that other stuff? You're the president of the United States, so you can have all the aides that you want. You can have people checking your writings and checking over your speeches and doing all this other stuff. But he seems like the kind of guy that if he let somebody read his tweets first just to double check them, that he would feel like that like they're checking up on him or that it's weakening his view or whatever. Like he feels like he wouldn't be manly enough to be able to say to somebody, "Hey, can you take a look at this and proofread it for me real quick?" And a sign of a good man is knowing that you're not perfect and knowing that you may need assistance from other people and saying to somebody like, "Hey, I did my best on this. Can you just take a look at it and see if I screwed anything up?" And I don't believe that this buffoon has the ability to do that. So he tweets out things that are misspelled. He tweets out things that are just factually not true. He does just he's just he's just messy. He's just loose and he's just not a good dude. And I think that it makes us look bad as a country. It makes us look bad as a people. It makes us look bad as everything. So is it better to have a strong country that has great things going on for it, but be led by a buffoon, or is it better to be led by somebody who is charismatic, chas, chas, charismatic? No, chasm, whatever. Somebody who's well liked and who speaks well and and has a strong following, like Obama. Obama, I feel, was that way. I felt like Obama, like everybody loved Obama. He was just a great man, and he was a nice person, and he held himself well, and he was very articulate, and everyone like was motivated by his speeches and all that other stuff on both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans. Everyone really enjoyed him as a person, but his policies, he seemed like he was a little bit of a pushover. His foreign campaigns and stuff. He was like bowing to other like world leaders and all that other stuff. So you could say like these two guys are the complete opposite. Obama was a guy that everybody loved, and he was like hip and cool, and everyone like liked him. And Trump is just a dummy, and like he just everyone dislikes him, and he's a bully, and he thinks he's more important than he actually is, and he's just a horrible human being. And then Obama really couldn't seem to do anything right. It seemed like the economy and everything was just crashing and burning around him. and our country was just not doing well. And now this guy, even though he's a buffoon, it seems that everything's running great underneath him, and everything's working great, and everything's running fine, and he doesn't have any special interests. He doesn't have any guys saying like, "Hey, listen, I gave you $10 million for your campaign, so this is what I expect in return," because he didn't need to take on anyone's money. So it's almost like people can't buy him now. So he's making decisions, whether they're good decisions or bad decisions. He's making decisions on his own. This guy, so he's got a bunch of generals working for him. And now these aren't just normal everyday generals. These are 4-star Marine Corps generals that spent like 40 years in the Marine Corps. Now, I don't know if you know anything about General Mattis, but General Mattis, the Marines, they call him Mad Dog Mattis. That's what the Marines didn't call him Mad Dog. Everyone outside the Marine Corps, everybody else called him Mad Dog. What the Marines called him, the guy has no kids. The guy has no wife. The guy was on the front lines with the troops. The guy is so well read on campaigns from hundreds and thousands of years ago. The guy is just a phenomenal human being. They called him the warrior monk because, like I said, he was so well written on, well read on anything and everything, and he, you can read up on this guy and read some of his quotes and stuff like that. One of the things that he said was, which is also usually misquoted, is that he said, roughly, this isn't the exact quote, it's something like it though. I'm paraphrasing. He said, "Be kind, be respectful, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet," which is a great rule, great way of doing things. But people think that was his everyday rule, but that wasn't his everyday rule. That was what he said when Marines came to Iraq and they were in Fallujah, and he said, listen, be nice to people, be cordial to people, be, all that other stuff, but also know that these are foreign people, and there's a possibility that one of these people may try to kill you. So be nice and be respectful of people, but also have a plan, like if things go south, that you could defend yourself or whatever. One of the most well-respected military leaders in the world, and I will say that for this guy to say that he knows more about NATO than for Trump to say he knows more about NATO than General Mattis is just ridiculous. It's just absurd, and it's disrespectful. To have a guy like General Kelly be your what is he, chief of staff. This is a guy that you want to keep your staff in line. This is a guy that you want to make your rules and regulations. This is a guy that you want on your side to strike fear in the heart and minds of the people that work for you. And to undercut this guy and to do the goofiest stuff like using your own civilian cell phone to call whoever you want when you're the free leader of the free world, and have the possibility of people being able to spy on what you're saying and doing and all that other stuff, it just seems like it's such an elementary class of a person. This guy, maybe that's the best explanation of this guy, is that he is like an elementary school kid. He's like his class of understanding and his ability to be a leader of people and not fear that he's leading these people and they're all talking bad about him and all like, oh, we hate the boss and he's a coward, and he's like, he feels like he has to lead everybody with a heavy hand. And meanwhile, I really do think that everybody's laughing behind his back. Everyone's like, man, this guy is just a joke. You know what I mean? But he knows numbers and he knows business and he knows how to make things work as far as that. So what do I think overall of this guy? I think the person is a buffoon. I think the guy is unintelligent. I think the guy makes horrible decisions, personal decisions on tweeting and doing all that other stuff. But I love the direction that the country's going in. And I think he's mostly or partially to blame. I don't know if it's because he surrounds himself with people who know how to run things and do very good. I don't know if he has really great negotiators. I'm not 100% sure what it is. But I think a lot of other countries fear us because he has these really important people around him who are willing to, you know, people, other countries fear General Mattis. You know what I mean? Other countries fear General Kelly. They fear these kind of people that are in his inner circle. So I think that nobody fears him. You know, he goes to world leader meetings and stuff like that, and people laugh at him. You know, he said, I don't remember what he said, but at a podium, and like the room of the UN started laughing. Like, come on now, that's, it doesn't get any ruder than the UN laughing at you. You know what I mean? So I think we kind of have become the laughing stock of the world as far as Donald Trump being our the face and representative of our country. But they're not laughing at us because of the strength of our military. They're not laughing at us because of the strength of our economy. They're not laughing at us because, you know, this is the land of opportunity where the economy is. I mean, the job unemployment and all that other stuff is so low. So they can't laugh at us because of that. So they just point to this, you know, orange guy with the bleach blonde hair and all that other stuff, and they point at him and laugh and all that other stuff. Which, you know, strangely enough, we used to do the same thing. You know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Donald Trump was like a buffoon, like he was a clown. He was like a reality TV star, and he was somebody that we all looked at like this guy, like you know, he was supposed to be this New York real estate guy who everybody was like, oh my God, Donald Trump. But then he like built the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, and then he filed for bankruptcy a bunch of times, and he kind of was like a New York City joke, you know what I mean? Like, oh, Donald Trump's, you know, like guy's a buffoon, you know. And then somehow he became president. So he definitely moved himself up in the world, and he definitely has painted himself in a light that, if I honestly believe that if he would just shut up, if he would just let the strength of the presidency and let the strength of his accomplishments and let the strength of what's going on in the world work for him, he really would be a lot stronger, and a lot of people would see him as a lot better of a leader and all that other stuff. If he stops tweeting, if he stops talking trash, and stops talking bad about women, respects, you know, the people that are around him, and trusts in the people that are in his administration are there to help him. They're not there to hurt him. So if he stops being so weak and realizes that he's the strongest, you know, he's the most powerful man in the free world, then I think what we'll find is that he will start garnering more respect and dignity from the American people and from the world. And he won't wind up leaving the White House, whether it's in 2020 or 2024, as people laughing at him as a person, but appreciative of the accomplishments that he made. So I don't doubt his ability, or I don't want to doubt his administration's ability. I just doubt that he has the understanding and the strength to not worry about what people are saying about him, and not worry about people pointing their fingers and laughing, and being more presidential by keeping his mouth shut and staying off of social media. So hopefully that's what he'll do. I'm not 100% sure, but if he does, he'll see that the world will change in his favor, and he'll be president for a very long time, and this country will be stronger and better than it's ever been before. So we'll see.